All right, our next session, also outstanding selection of panelists, also a who's who selection. So this is the Tesla Influencer Panel. We are so delighted to have Ryan McCaffrey, host of the unofficial Tesla podcast here. I've been listening to his podcast since I bought my Tesla back in 2018, and he's been a wealth of information for thousands and thousands of Tesla owners around the world. So he will be the moderator of this exceptional session. We also have Bearded Tesla Guy, who drove all the way from Florida to be here. We have Tesla Flex, who has an amazing audience on TikTok. And of course, Kyle Connor from Out of Spec Motors and Reviews. Yep. Kyle is making his second appearance here at Tesla Takeover. For those who were here last year, you know that Kyle did an exceptional session for us last year, so we're super delighted to have him back this year. And then Dirty Tesla is finally rounding out that panel. So without further ado, give it up for Ryan, Bearded Tesla Guy, Tesla Flex, Kyle Connor, and Dirty Tesla. Woo!
Are these on? Yes, okay. Hey everybody, we'll get everybody on stage here. I'm Ryan McCaffrey, I host Ride the Lightning. 8-year anniversary of my podcast is up this week. Every Sunday, hopefully a lot of you listen to it. If you don't know me, I interviewed Elon back on episode 200. I've had Franz in my guest chair a couple of times, most recently back in January. So I am thrilled to be here alongside these guys. So real quick, we've got Chris Dirty Tesla over here. We've got Justin, the Bearded Tesla Guy, also to my left. We have Kyle from Out of Spec, and we are missing a panelist, but that's all right. We'll have to just soldier on. So we've only got 30 minutes, plenty of topics to get to. The idea here is we're all just kind of out here creating various bits of Tesla content in our own unique ways. And so I thought it'd be fun to just talk to these guys and get their perspective on the world of Tesla as they see it. So I want to start with this one. What excites you guys? We have Tesla Flex has arrived. Brandon here, making the star entrance. Thanks for joining us. So what excites you guys the most about Tesla, to the point that you want to make content about it through YouTube or podcasts or what have you?
That's a Justin question.
We're going to Justin first, all right.
All right, well, I think that what's really fun about Tesla specifically is it's a combination of making a good car with good infrastructure, and now you can say finally again, at a good price. Because there for a while, it was kind of tough to say that, but when you look around this room, or this tent, I guess, I think you can see a whole lot of people that look like your neighbor because they are your neighbor. And this is the car of the future. This is going to shape everything that everybody else is doing. We already have how many manufacturers on board with NACS, and we've got more coming. And it took an outsider to get us where we are today. None of the legacy guys could have sat there and thought, let's make a casting that big, because it's impossible. It took an outsider. It took a guy that did not sit in the automotive industry to come up with asking those types of questions.
Or it was just too expensive or required too much effort, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing we're doing makes us money. Why should we do anything else?
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I think it's exciting to make Tesla content, because whether it's a Tesla or a Hyundai or name your electric vehicle, it kind of starts with a Tesla conversation, and then it can evolve from there. And I think that's what's exciting about it.
Chris?
Yeah, so I live in Metro Detroit, and so as you can guess, it's can be a little contentious there sometimes if you're driving a car that's not made, at least in a company that's headquartered there. You can phrase it that way. And even as of today, but especially a few years ago, the EV anything had the whole golf cart connotation of it's not going to be well made, it's going to be slow, it's not going to go very far. And I had somebody that worked at, I think it was GM, tell me, when I first got my Model 3, they're like, I know a spot in the US your car cannot make it because it doesn't have enough range, there's no plugs anywhere, And I was like, oh my God, I'm thinking in my head, he's got me. And he goes, it's 90 miles. And I go, okay, well, obviously people don't understand. So having those conversations, thanks, Eric. From Monroe, he's right there. He'll be very embarrassed. But having those conversations, in real life was like, there's so many people out there who just don't understand the basics or how great these can actually be once you get into it. So just sharing, as much as I could is a big part of it.
Awesome. Brandon?
I think probably the thing that excites me the most is, the reason I bought my first Tesla was just because the technology. I've always loved technology, and I wasn't really even buying it just for like the environmental benefits. It was mostly just because I kind of wanted a car that I could treat like an iPhone, something that I didn't have to, constantly get oil changes or any of that stuff. And I just kind of wanted to show like it's possible, because after I owned it for a couple months, I was like, well, why doesn't everyone else drive an electric car or a Tesla? Because you only see bad stuff about them on most social media. So that's kind of what pushed me to do that.
Kyle?
Well, and for those of you who don't know, Brandon's actually my neighbor. So we see each other quite often at home. And yeah, so I started making Tesla content with road trips. And of course, now we test a bunch of EVs sort of in the context of Tesla, which we don't see from many other automotive publications. We're looking at, the big guys like Road and Track, Edmunds, Motor Trend, et cetera. And we're looking at how they're covering Tesla, and especially in the context of other vehicles out there. And I think we found a unique place where we can actually do more instrumented or real world testing, depending on what we're doing, of Tesla in the context of some of these new electric vehicles. And we can benchmark the new EVs against Tesla. So for me, it's more about all electric cars. I think maybe only 10% of our content is Tesla these days, but I own 2 of them. I love them. I drove my Model S out here. It's freaking epic. And I have a blast with all cars personally. So EVs are just interesting to explore.
Yeah, for me, once I drove the original Roadster back in '09, the light bulb went off in my head like, oh, this is how we should be doing this from now on. And from there, I just obsessively started learning everything I could about the company, to the point where my wife got sick of hearing me talk about it in the house all the time. So I thought, well, all right, I got to find an outlet for this. I know how to do podcasts because I do them in my day job too. And it turns out there were a lot of other people that shared that same enthusiasm that wanted to listen to something too. So yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. So next question for you guys. So as Tesla continues expanding the product lineup, both vehicle and otherwise, what are you most excited about in terms of home energy, home HVAC, one of the vehicles? Sort of curious what next Tesla thing is highest on your list. I'll start over here, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't think it'll come as a surprise. A lot of the charging technologies are interesting from my side. I just visited the new expanded Baker supercharger yesterday, which was just insane. Over 100 DC fast chargers, 12 public chargers, the rest Tesla, it's got to be a cumulative 100 kilowatts of solar going into roughly 3 megawatt hours of battery storage, completely tied together. We can hear the inverters from the batteries actually like doing peak shaving, so actually charging from sunlight in some cases, or from energy that was produced at lower times of demand. It was fascinating to watch the integration of everything, which Tesla's always been the best integrator. And now we're going to see other cars charging on the supercharger network. So for me, I'm kind of like, obviously as a Tesla owner, I'm like, oh boy, is this going to work? But as a CCS car owner as well, I can't wait to charge on the supercharger network. So it's all charging tech moving forwards. Mega charger for semi, version 4 supercharging, which we actually haven't seen yet. We've only seen version 4 supercharger dispensers.
Right.
The cabinets are all still V3. So yeah, they're going to dominate the charging world, I think.
And Baker, they also have a Electrify America, pretty sizable setup there too. Did you check that out?
Yeah, so you mean the EA site next to Baker? Yeah, so we did a little bit over there, and they have 12 stalls. They have a 1 megawatt hour mega pack there as well. So a lot of Electrify America stations are powered by Tesla batteries, over 200 actually.
All right, Brandon, on the Tesla roadmap, what's got you most excited?
It's gonna sound kind of corny, but the Cybertruck, just because it's really just a culmination of all of their other vehicles they've been building. Because like first gen Model S's, that was good, but they've just been constantly improving it, and they've been kind of holding it slow on other vehicles because they want to upgrade it all at once. So I think the Cybertruck with all the upgraded technology and wiring and just the batteries, it's going to be a really big thing. And I can't wait to see it go to all their other cars too.
I don't think you'll be alone in that answer. Let's see. Let's go down the line. Mr. Bearded Tesla.
So, surprisingly, it's not the Cybertruck, but I don't want to get that confused. I am so excited for the Cybertruck. It's the $25,000 Tesla, which will probably come in at $29,990 by the time it's ready. But it's such an important car, and I don't think people are talking enough about it right now. Affordability in electric cars is the most important thing we should be working on right now, and that car is going to be another leap forward for affordability, for access, which is a huge problem with electrification right now. I mean, these cars are not cheap, and that's going to be not just an affordable car like the Bolt, which is a fantastic car, but it's going to be an affordable but a good car too. Yeah. It's going to have access to fast charging. It's going to have decent range. It's going to have autopilot and at an affordable price. That's it for me.
Chris?
So we're talking potential things they could maybe make but have no plans for as well, or only things that...
Up to you. Dealer's choice.
So I have two quick ones. So number one is I really, really want them to make some type of lawnmower because a lot of emissions come from that. A lot of emissions. They're not as regulated, and it just would be a great product. There are products out there, but I think Tesla could do it better.
Didn't gas leaf blowers just get banned in California? If I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Yeah.
Everything's going that way anyway,
Yeah.
and I mean Tesla has enough demand for everything. They don't need to branch out that much, but it's just something I think they could make a huge impact emissions-wise if that's the way you're looking at it. The other one is I think the home HVAC, which Elon has talked about a bunch of times. He talks about a lot of stuff, so whether it's actually coming or not. But we have geothermal in my home, and it is such a great system. It uses so little energy. The amount we spend on heating and cooling is so much less than using other methods. So if Tesla could break into that, we know that their HVAC tech in the cars now is so good. And if they could expand that to a whole home, again, efficiency off the charts for that.
Well, you segued perfectly into the next topic, which is what is the most important segment that Tesla needs to get into that they're not in yet? And I think,
Okay.
a
That's my
lawnmower
answer.
is that's a great answer to that question. Like, home tools, home accessories is a great pick. I'll go back to Bearded Tesla here.
I'm actually thinking about it. Bidirectional charging is the right answer, by the way.
Which hopefully we're all going to get in about 2 months when the first Cybertruck rolls off the line.
It has to, right? It has to.
It's got to.
It has to.
I asked Franz on my last interview with him back in January, and he, without saying, my takeaway was yes, that it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a post-apocalyptic truck that's supposed to do everything, how could it not feed power back to other things?
Absolutely.
Right?
If you guys watch any of the Hurricane Ian, which was my first hurricane, by the way, there were a lot of cool videos of people with their F-150 Lightnings using those as generators to, operate some critical stuff. Like, there's so many use cases for bidirectional charging, whether it's the Cybertruck or any car. And yeah, that's a solid answer right there.
Brandon, how about you?
I think it's got to be buses, school buses. I mean, these things, they're all around. I mean, even just for public transport, it'd be so important to have, because I know they have them in Europe already, but having that here and just Tesla, just doing the technology on that, I mean, they would dominate. And like, they already kind of have that set up with the whole semi-charger. Like, all they really have to do is just build a better platform.
Does it bum anyone else out when you see the picture of the electric USPS mail vehicle? That weird, bubbly, like Homer Simpson mobile thing, and you just think, why couldn't Tesla have gotten this contract and made
so
all the new postal service vehicles?
It's like your ugly child. It's beautiful, right?
Everything. I guess everything's beautiful to the right, to the eye of the beholder. But Kyle.
Yeah, echoing what Brandon said, I just think other segments of vehicles should be their main focus right now. Vans, buses, sports car. I want Roadster 2.0 so bad. And they're not going to do it anytime soon, but that's just, that's the personal want.
Yeah, it's minivan for me. I do. You just mentioned minivans,
Model X.
But I don't even need one or want one, but it just seems like for larger families, the Model X is a $100,000 vehicle that, just a people moving minivan for families would, that just seems like what I hope is going to be the next product after Gen 3 to really fill a particular niche that has not yet been filled. Let me move here to this. With the rapid growth of the EV market, even if this event, in the first event, the first Tesla takeover, when it was still the California takeover, there wouldn't even be Rivians here. There wouldn't even be a Taycan here. So we're seeing it, but how do you guys see Tesla's role in the EV market evolving? And also, what do you believe are the key challenges that Tesla specifically faces as it continues to grow and the EV market continues to grow? I'll come back kind of reverse snake draft here to Kyle first.
Yeah, well, you're totally right. There's more vehicles coming on the market that are increasingly technically impressive and offer different features in different areas. For example, Lucid certainly is winning the range wars right now, which I'm not a big believer that range matters. I'm more charging is more important than range, but they're killing it, even aside from the EPA cycle. Tesla's role moving forward is full integration. It's when you get a Tesla, their selling point is you get an app that works with the car, that works perfectly with the charger, that works with your driver assistance system, that then ties in with your home solar into your battery pack, and they sell this whole circular economy, if you will, of owning a Tesla, which is something no other automaker can even come close to. Certain automakers will be able to use the supercharger network, yes, with plug and charge, and it'll be fine, but it's not like their apps are getting any better or every other bit of the company. So Tesla's just going to kill it from an integration standpoint, even if others can compete in one area such as range or another area such as charging performance like Taycan. Tesla's got the full circular situation.
Well said, well said. Tesla Flex, Brandon.
I would like to see cross-compatibility with other electric cars. Like I know, like Kyle said, they're going to let other cars use their superchargers, but like I said, the apps suck. I think a lot of these manufacturers just kind of need to swallow their pride and just maybe license some of Tesla's technology, even though a lot of them don't want to, and they've fought against it for so long. But they have such a good system. I want to own another electric car just for that reason.
FSD seems like the most likely candidate that other automakers are going to have to swallow their pride, to your exact point, right? Because nobody has the data, nobody has the neural nets, like nobody has any of that stuff that Tesla's got.
And the volume of the fleet that they have that's continuously growing.
Yeah. Bearded Tesla.
So show of hands, who's afraid of Tesla opening their supercharging network to other cars? It's okay. It's not a bad thing, right? But here's the thing, when Tesla does this, it's going to hurt in the short term, but competition is good. And it's really good for Tesla, and it's really good for you. It's good for you. It's good for me. I promise you it is, because the one major roadblock that most other electric cars have today is access to a reliable charging network, right? And so now once you can get a Volvo that can charge on the supercharging network, well, now Tesla has to consider a Volvo customer, which means they have to provide a Volvo customer a compelling reason to buy their car over the Volvo, which means a better quality vehicle.
So you're saying that Tesla's role as the EV industry evolves is almost more of a stewardship role of kind of bringing everybody else along by way of the charging network and potentially things like licensing FSD. So almost like a paternal role, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They were the grandfather of the electric vehicle revolution that's happening right now, and that is a very important role. And they do. It's shocking how open they are with the industry, because that is something that would not happen with Legacy, opening the books like that to other competitors.
Yeah, it's a good point. If any other automaker had been the ones to go full EV first and be where Tesla is now, they wouldn't be sharing anything with anybody, right?
Cashing checks all day.
Exactly. Dirty Tesla. Tesla's evolving role in the EV space.
Yeah, eventually everybody's going to have a good EV that you can pick, or at least a decent one. Everyone's going to have, if self-driving gets kind of solved, some form of self-driving or self-driving license from Tesla. But as Tesla's done their entire existence, they're really good at innovating and bringing new things that nobody's done before, like the gigacastings and the efficiency you get in their motors, their battery cooling technology, their BMS. All of these things are what Tesla is going to kind of lead with, I think, for a very long time. They're at the point where they have the best engineers, and then they attract the best engineers. And as newer, smaller companies maybe have some breakthroughs, they're going to want to go to Tesla to get those breakthroughs bought out or scaled up or whatever it is. And so Tesla's going to continue innovating in a way that they bring it to their fleet, and then the rest of the market has no choice but to emulate or copy, or whatever they need to do to kind of stay relevant. So I think innovation is going to be kind of, they put a decent amount of money into R&D and everything, so that's going to be a big benefit of Tesla for a long time.
So piggybacking on that, I'm going to go back around here. What are Tesla's biggest challenges here as they do evolve their role in the entire marketplace and specifically the EV marketplace?
So it's very superficial, and I think Tesla could solve this extremely easily, but one of the biggest things I see today, like on the ground, talking with other people, is messaging isn't always the clearest. It's hard to really talk to someone at Tesla, and that's when you get like people like us up here, who I'm sure all of us have DM'd with people and answered questions for them that probably Tesla should be answering. So things like that, and then the age-old like build quality thing. Honestly, I've had a good experience with my cars, but it's still something that sticks out sometimes. And when you go to, another brand, I don't need to name any brands, but when you go to some other brands with similarly priced cars, you just get this level of refinement that Tesla doesn't always offer. And I think a lot of people will probably disagree with me on that. But just the way the car's put together from these other companies, sometimes it just feels a little better. And it's easy to overlook all that once you get the whole experience of a Tesla because it's so great. But I think just those really granular customer interaction things are what need to be brought up going forward.
Justin, key challenges Tesla faces?
Yeah, I think that Tesla needs to be careful, optimistically careful, because all the early adopters are driving a Tesla already. So now it's my parents that I'm trying to convince to buy a Tesla, and they're not into it. So the reasons they're not into it are very logical, real reasons, and customer service is probably the biggest piece of that. I like to joke and say that the delivery experience, I call it very different, but some people do not like that at all. They don't have somebody to ask, they don't know how to start the car, or whatever it may be, and it's so intuitive, and for us, we don't think about that because it's so easy, but there's a whole next wave of people who have never cared anything about electric cars that are now going to start buying them. Your neighbor who's driven a Honda Accord for 27 years, right? He's gonna get a Tesla or a Bolt or whatever. And there's a lot of education that needs to happen, and Tesla has an obligation to do a better job at that, in my opinion.
Brandon?
I think they're going to run into some challenges with growing pains because, they only have almost 5 million cars on the road, and they want to be delivering 20 million by the year 2030. So, they really have to increase the amount of service centers they have. Like, even just in California, where they're probably the most adopted, you see people have issues getting service, and they've gotten a lot better with their mobile service and everything, but they really just need to have more availability because, you have dealerships everywhere that can service any type of car. And right now, you can only really get it done by a Tesla-approved body shop or Tesla service, and you might have to wait weeks for a part to come in, and it's pretty unclear, what they're really doing to fix it.
Yeah, service is mine too. It's I've crowed on about this on the podcast for a while because that is the quickest way that you can tank your well-earned hard reputation, right? Like if you've Tesla's great, but my neighbor never get a service appointment and I'm not going to buy one. It can be a real problem. It's a big issue that they've got to scale that arguably faster than the cars are scaling, which is already happening so quickly. Let's look at the Cybertruck. Just out of curiosity, show of hands, how many Cybertruck reservations do we have in the room? Most of the room, which I'm also raising my own hand. So here's a thought on Cybertruck service. Repairing the stainless steel panels. I had a DeLorean, as many of you know that listen to the podcast, and a trained metal worker can reshape that panel, regrain it, make it look like brand new, no problem. But you can't Bondo over a dented stainless steel panel because you're not painting back over it. So for the Cybertruck fleet that's about to get real big real quick here over the next 2-3 years, what's the service? What does the body shop situation look like for that? Tesla's got to be hiring a ton of metal workers and set up maybe Cybertruck specific body shops, right? I don't actually know what the solution is there, but that's going to be a big one to me, is service. Kyle?
Yeah, I echo pretty much everything you guys have said so far, but I think also an area where Tesla might have a hard time competing for some customers going forward is going to be on exclusivity, having a desirable product, if you will. You go to Hertz now, every car is a Model Y. So it is sort of devaluing the brand slightly, which is kind of what they're trying to do. Lower priced cars, get
it's
people
by
driving
design.
electric. It's totally by design. But like I said, for the certain person, there's some people that want to drive something special, something bespoke, something interesting, a conversation starter, and not every car on the road is going to be a Tesla. There's a lot of room for others out there, and we're going to see them, and they're doing some really cool stuff. So yeah, I think Tesla honestly is set up perfectly, to be totally transparent, to just own the market that they're already owning. They have a great product roadmap. They have an amazing team, agreed on service, and just having a more someone to call when something goes wrong is a good feeling to have in your back pocket. I know certainly, like, I don't get any special contacts or treatment at Tesla or anything. We use the same service center. We just go there. We know Toby. He's great, but like he's just a dude who fixes everyone's cars. But yeah, Tesla's just going to kill it. I really don't think there's much in their way right now.
Yeah, I mean, the next-gen Roadster is that chance to go maybe back up market a little bit, right? To say, here's the conversation piece to sort of move the brand sort of value up in the sort of emotional sense, I guess.
And Cybertruck, of course, for the first year or two of production is just like, you won't be able to move that vehicle. It's just going to have a crowd of people with questions around you. I can't wait to drive it. I'm so pumped for that thing.
Yeah, that is going to be fun. Yeah, if you get an early Cybertruck, prepare to be a celebrity in your town, whether you want to be or not.
And you can hit me on Twitter, Instagram, email is in the YouTube channel.
Yes, the Cybertruck being basically a rolling advertisement despite the complete and total lack of badges. And speaking of advertising, Tesla dipping their toe in the water. Are you guys for or against Tesla investing resources into advertising? And if you're for, what form do you think it should take? I'll start with Brandon on this one.
I might be a little biased. They need to be heavily advertising on social media. And I've noticed their Twitter team, their Instagram team, they've really been upping their game on just posting content, because it doesn't really matter what the content is as long as they're pushing stuff out there that's good. But also more educational stuff, like on legacy media stuff, because you see all these advertisements for other cars, and it's like they're like giving you a false experience, like, oh, drive this car around and feel this. But if Tesla wants to really do advertising effectively, they really just need to educate people on basically just fighting misinformation. Because there's people that will not buy a Tesla because they think it takes an hour and a half to charge at a supercharger, or even longer. And they just need to get that message out there that that's not true anymore.
Kyle, pro or con on the advertising side?
Yeah, personally, to me, it doesn't actually make a difference. I'm not an investor in the company. Whatever they choose to do is interesting from my side. If they don't do advertising, that's a talking point for us to reference against other brands. If they do, then I really hope they do some educational, nerdy stuff. And the content team has been killing it. They've been producing some amazing, videos that they're sharing on Twitter, now X. And really fascinating. So if they do advertising, I hope they do it in the way that they continue to do it, which is share interesting tidbits of the cars and the people behind them.
So interesting. The first two responses here have been more non-traditional advertising. I like it's an interesting data point. Justin?
I don't think it matters. I know that I might be alone in this opinion, but if you're talking about an electric car, what's the first car you talk about? It's a Tesla. And for all the people in this room, how many of you have educated your neighbor on it because they're curious about it, right? It's going to continue to be that way for quite some time. And I think what Kyle was talking about with the content team at Tesla, they're doing it right, because they're doing it on Twitter and they're doing it on Instagram, and people are retweeting the heck out of that stuff. Have you ever received $1 from Tesla? Have I? No. Have you? No. They don't spend any money on advertising, and yet it's everywhere because it is. So I don't think it matters personally, but.
Chris?
I agree. I don't think it's very important, and if they do it, it needs to be, as you two said, education on the basics, because anyone who gets past the basics is going to be looking for that stuff anyway. Yeah. And as long as they stay away from traditional TV commercials and stuff, who sees, celebrities driving a Lincoln and then oh, I got to go buy that now. It doesn't make any sense. So I hope they don't go that route.
You don't feel like being Matthew McConaughey in the?
No, no, I don't.
All right, all right, all right.
All right, we've got a couple minutes left. Give me one bold move that you guys think Tesla should make, whether it's acquiring somebody or greenlighting some crazy project. Give me something. I know I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot. They got the questions ahead of time, so they've had time to think about this. Kyle, I'll go to you first here.
Yeah, I haven't seen the questions, so sorry. Track mode for Model X is the first thing that comes to mind.
That was promised at Shareholder Day, I believe. So
Well, it's
hopefully
on
coming.
Tesla time, so it hasn't happened yet.
Well, that would be a bold move, throwing a 5,500-pound SUV around with full rear-wheel bias on a autocross course.
Just
That'd be
imagine
sight
a
to
Model X at like 130 miles an hour, full sideways, smoke pouring off the tires, with like your kids in the back. It'd be epic.
see. Again would be what I would hear in my car. Brandon?
I think they should be buying stake in other manufacturers, kind of like, I mean, that's kind of them supporting other electric cars. Like if they have all this extra money, they have all this revenue coming in, they could be putting some of that into supporting everyone else, because in the long run, it does help them. Other people are going to use their superchargers, and a car that they don't build and use their superchargers, that's pure profit for them.
Well said. Justin?
He was talking to me.
Oh, I'm just.
We're going to Chris? All right.
We're both over here like, man, I don't know. For me, it's hard because I feel like they already move really boldly with everything they do. They move so quickly into everything and just manufacture as hard as they can and try stuff and fail. Like, honestly, like even if you look at just the yoke, I would consider that slightly a failure because I enjoy the yoke, honestly. Most people don't like it. And Tesla had to take it off and make it a paid option. So what bold move? I don't know. Give us a 500-mile Cybertruck. We don't want that 350-mile Cyber. That's my bold move. Yes, thank you.
Well, on that note, we are out of time. Thank you very much for your attention, everybody. Check these guys all out on YouTube, my podcast. Enjoy Tesla Takeover. Thank you.